Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a trip down to the South Coast,
hmm
specifically to the Vitality Stadium. Though I have to say, looking at the aftermath of Saturday, there wasn't much vitality on display from the visitors, was there?
Not a drop, no. We are dissecting what can only be described as a catastrophic breakdown for the Premier League champions.
It really was.
It wasn't just a defeat. It felt like a systemic failure.
Right.
We're looking at Liverpool FC's visit to AFC Bournemouth on January 24th, 2026.
Right.
The scoreboard reads Bournemouth 3, Liverpool 2, but honestly, that scoreline is incredibly flattering to the losing side.
Oh, massively flattering.
It masks a performance that was, disjointed, lethargic, and tactically completely confused.
It really does. And before we get into the forensic analysis of the goals and the gaffes, we have to set the stage properly, don't we?
Context is everything here.
Exactly. Liverpool are the defending champions from the 24-25 season. They should be swaggering into these games. But they arrived at the Vitality in a run of form that can only be described as, well, relegation standard in terms of momentum.
It's startling when you actually write it down. Since September, Liverpool have only managed 5 wins in the league. 5 wins. We are talking about a 4-month period where the title winners have they've forgotten how to close out football matches.
And on the flip side, you had Bournemouth. Now, usually you'd say, tough place to go, organized side.
Yeah, tricky fixture.
But Bournemouth were in crisis mode. They had 1 solitary win in their last 14 games. 1.
And they were absolutely ravaged by injuries. It wasn't just a couple of knocks. Their squad was down to the bare bones.
And, just to twist the knife, they had just sold their best attacking asset, Antoine Semenyo, to Manchester City of all places.
That's the crucial bit, isn't it? This was a Bournemouth side stripped of its biggest threat, lacking confidence. On paper, this was the perfect fixture for Liverpool to, and excuse the cliché, steady the ship.
The perfect get-right game.
Exactly. Instead, we witnessed a performance that has so many fans and pundits asking if the ship hasn't just hit an iceberg, but is actively sinking.
The mission for today's deep dive is, well, it's pretty simple. We are going to unpack how the reigning champions were so comprehensively outplayed by a struggling, depleted Bournemouth side. We aren't just looking at the goals. We're going to look at the underlying stats that completely, and I mean completely, debunk the idea that Liverpool were unlucky.
There was no luck involved in this.
None at all. We're going to dissect the furious fan reaction, which has turned from anger to something far more worrying, and we have to tackle the burning question dominating every pub and every forum on Merseyside. Is this the end of the Arne Slot era?
It's the question that just won't go away. And frankly, after Saturday, it's getting harder and harder to defend the current regime.
Well, let's start with what we call the emotional temperature. I spent a good chunk of my Sunday reading through the post-match threads, the fan forums, the social media deluge.
Oh, I can imagine.
And usually after a last-minute loss like that, you expect fire and brimstone. You expect absolute rage. But that wasn't the dominant emotion, not really.
No, it was resignation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I picked up on that too. The words I kept seeing were numbness, apathy, and just pain.
Yes, apathy is the word.
There's a specific kind of hollowness that sets in when fans stop believing the team is even capable of turning it around. The hope is gone.
There was one comment that really stuck with me. A fan wrote, "I didn't even celebrate the equalizer because I just knew a collapse was coming."
Wow.
That is devastating, isn't it? When the bond of trust between the fans and the team is so broken that you can't even enjoy a goal because you're preemptively mourning the inevitable defeat, that's a club in crisis.
It really is. It's the feeling that the mask has slipped. Because leading up to this game, there was a lot of talk from the club about Liverpool's unbeaten run.
Oh, the famous unbeaten run.
And if you actually watch the games, it was a comatose run. That's what the fans called it.
I like that.
It was draw after draw, scraping by, failing to kill teams off. There was no conviction in it.
It was a total facade. And Bournemouth didn't just crack the facade, they took a sledgehammer to it. The mood has shifted entirely from trust the process to burn it all down.
And we're seeing widespread calls for Slot out, but what's interesting is that the anger is just spraying everywhere.
It's not just him, is it?
No, not at all. It's at the recruitment team. It's at the captain Virgil van Dijk for his performance and his comments, and it's at the tactical setup itself. It's a full-blown crisis of faith.
Well, let's get into the match narrative then, because as you said, this wasn't a smash and grab. This was a systematic dismantling. We're calling this section From Bad to Worse.
Aptly named.
The first half. Talk to me about the first 20 minutes, because if you just look at the possession stats, you'd be forgiven for thinking Liverpool were dominating.
They were dominating the ball, yes, but they were not dominating the game. And there is a massive, massive difference.
A crucial distinction.
Liverpool had something like 70% possession in those opening exchanges, but it was so sterile. It was the classic horseshoe of death.
The horseshoe.
Center back to fullback, up to the winger who's marked. So it goes back to the fullback and then all the way back to the center back. Over and over.
Possession without penetration, the worst kind of football to watch.
Exactly. Mo Salah had 0 successful dribbles in that opening period. The ball movement was slow, it was predictable, it felt like they were just waiting for Bournemouth to get out of the way and give them a goal.
But Bournemouth were disciplined.
Very. They shifted their block, they were compact, and they just waited. They knew the mistake would come.
And the mistake came. 26th minute, Evanilson opens the scoring. We have to talk about the defending here because it looked, well, peculiar.
Peculiar is being very generous. It was a dereliction of duty from the captain.
From Virgil van Dijk.
The ball gets played into the channel, and Van Dijk, the captain, the man they call the Colossus, just stops.
He actually stopped running. I saw the replay. His legs just stopped moving.
He stopped playing. He throws his arm up, looking at the linesman, looking at the referee, assuming the ball had gone out or there was an offside or a foul. He just froze.
And you just can't do that.
In the Premier League, if you freeze for half a second, you're dead. And Evanilson, credit to him, he didn't wait for an invitation. He played to the whistle and slotted it past Alisson.
It was startling to see such an experienced player, a leader, just switch off like that. And the rest of the defense sort of followed his lead, didn't they?
They did. There was no reaction from anyone else. It was completely passive.
That's the worry, though. If Van Dijk stops, everyone stops. He sets the tone. And that set the tone for the chaos that was about to follow.
And chaos it was. The 33rd minute. Only 7 minutes later, Alex Jimenez makes it 2-0.
Right. And there's a narrative that Arne Slot likes to lean on about teams playing a low block against Liverpool, you know, parking the bus.
Yes, the old low block excuse.
But this goal just blew that excuse clean out of the water.
Completely.
Yeah.
This wasn't a counterattack from a Liverpool corner where they were caught with numbers upfield. This was open play. Bournemouth just played straight through them.
It looks so simple.
A simple through ball, a well-timed run, and suddenly Liverpool's midfield is non-existent and the back line is completely split wide open. It wasn't low block frustration. It was Bournemouth being more aggressive, more direct, and more vertical than the champions. They just wanted it more.
And then just when you think it can't get any worse, the misery compounds. 35th minute, Joe Gomez goes down injured.
And this is the moment where months, maybe years, of boardroom negligence really hit the pitch.
You could feel the collective groan from the away end.
We know Ibrahima Konate is out.
Yeah.
We know Connor Bradley is out for the season. Gomez, who has his own injury history, goes off. Liverpool are 2-0 down away from home. Who comes on to play center back?
Wataru Endo.
A midfielder. A tenacious midfielder. A good player, sure. But a 5'10" midfielder is now your center half.
This caused an absolute meltdown online, and you can understand why.
Rightly so. It just highlights the absurdity of the squad depth, or lack thereof. Fans have been screaming at Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards' recruitment team about this for months.
The warnings were there.
They were flashing in neon lights. How do you spend, as the fans put it, $500 million on attackers like Florian Wirtz and new forwards, yet leave the defense so threadbare that you are forcing a midfielder to play center back in a crucial league game? It's madness.
It's a squad-balanced disaster, just a complete failure of planning. So they limp towards halftime, looking shell-shocked. But then, right on the stroke of the whistle, 45th minute, a lifeline.
A glimmer of hope they probably didn't deserve.
Dominic Szoboszlai whips in a corner, arguably one of the few things that actually worked for Liverpool on the day.
His set-piece delivery was excellent, to be fair.
And Virgil van Dijk redeems himself slightly with a bullet header, 2-1.
And you're thinking, okay, here we go.
It felt like a classic get-out-of-jail moment. You play terribly for 45 minutes, but you nick a goal right before the break, and you think, okay, the momentum will swing now, second half will be different.
It was a false dawn. A complete and utter false dawn. That goal masked the reality of the first half performance.
It papered over the cracks.
It gave them hope they hadn't earned tactically. It suggested they were still in the fight, when in reality, they were being outclassed in every single department except set pieces.
So, second half, the grind, as we've called it. Liverpool are chasing the game. Slot decides to make changes. He takes off Jeremy Frimpong.
And the away end was baffled. You could see it on the TV footage. People were looking around, confused.
Because Frimpong had been one of the few bright sparks, hadn't he?
He was. He offers that explosive pace down the right. He forces defenders to back off. He's a threat. Taking him off seemed to remove the one variable that Bournemouth were actually worried about. It felt like a negative move.
He brings on Curtis Jones and Hugo Ekitike. But instead of an injection of energy and urgency, the fans noted something else. Confusion?
Confusion and lethargy. The shape just disintegrated. Players were looking at each other, pointing, unsure of who was meant to be pressing and who was meant to be dropping.
And the leggy comments were everywhere online.
Walking football was the phrase I saw used over and over. And you could see it. They're 2-1 down, chasing the game, and yet the intensity just wasn't there. They were jogging back into position after losing the ball.
Which is the polar opposite of what Liverpool used to be.
Exactly. The Geoghegan press is a distant memory.
But football is a funny old game. 80th minute. Out of nowhere, really. An equalizer.
Szoboszlai again. He was the one bright spark. There's some debate in the sources whether it was a direct free kick that went all the way in or a scramble where Salah got the final touch to assist him, but the bottom line is the ball ends up in the back of the net. 2-2.
And for about 10 minutes, the entire narrative flipped. The fans in the away end are going wild, and you're thinking, they've stolen this. They've actually stolen a point. Maybe they can even go on and win it.
It was the first time in 3 years, apparently, that Liverpool had come back from a 2-0 deficit to level a game.
That's a long time.
It is. So the psychology shifted. They probably thought the hard work was done. We've weathered the storm. Now we'll see it out.
But then, the dagger. 90 plus 5 minutes. Deep, deep into stoppage time. Amin Adli.
And the nature of this goal. It's so painful if you're a Liverpool fan. It wasn't a moment of brilliance from Bournemouth. It wasn't a 30-yard screamer. It was a long throw-in.
Shades of Rory Delap at Stoke in 2026.
It really was.
Yeah.
A long throw just launched into the mixer. And Liverpool, the champions of England, could not deal with the second ball.
It's a basic of defending, isn't it?
The most basic. And has been a recurring theme all season. They lose the first header, they react so slowly to the loose ball, and Adli just wanted it more. He bundled it, poked it home.
Alisson couldn't keep it out. The defense was just static. And just like that, the comeback was dead. Bournemouth 3, Liverpool 2.
The deflation was total. You could feel it radiating from the television screens. To fight your way back to 2-2, to get yourself out of that hole you dug, only to fall right back in because you can't defend a throw-in. That just destroys morale.
And that result officially ended the unbeaten streak, which, as you said, fans were already calling the comatose run.
It's over.
Yeah.
In a strange way, it's probably a relief for some fans the illusion is gone. Now they have to face the cold, hard reality of where this team is.
Well, let's face that reality now. It's time to perform a tactical autopsy. Because the complaints about slot ball aren't just about vibes anymore. The numbers are frankly damning.
They are paradoxical, and that's what is so frustrating for the fans. Let's look at this possession versus threat paradox, as you called it. Liverpool had 67% possession.
Dominant on the face of it.
They owned the ball. But then you look at the expected goals, the XG. Liverpool, 0.83. Bournemouth, 2.3.
Wow. Okay, just say that again.
Liverpool, 0.83. Bournemouth, 2.3 day.
That is a staggering disparity. So Liverpool had the ball for 2/3 of the match, but didn't create enough quality chances to statistically deserve even one single goal.
Spot on. And here's the killer stat, the one that tells the whole story. Big chances. Liverpool created one big chance in 95 minutes.
One.
Bournemouth created 6.
6 big chances with only 33% possession.
That tells you everything you need to know about the structural failure of this Liverpool team. The possession is completely toothless. Fans are calling it pass it to the side FC.
I saw that one.
They move the ball laterally from side to side. They refuse to take risks. They refuse to shoot from the edge of the box. They're always trying to walk it into the net.
And meanwhile, Bournemouth, with their limited time on the ball,
They were lethal because Liverpool commits so many bodies forward to play this slow, methodical possession game. Their rest defense, the structure they leave behind to stop counterattacks, is practically non-existent.
they're so vulnerable to the transition.
Every single time Liverpool lost the ball in the final third, Bournemouth had acres of space to run into. They didn't need possession. They just needed Liverpool to make one mistake, and Liverpool made plenty.
Now, I saw a lot of fans joking before the manager's post-match interview that they could predict what he was going to say.
Oh, it's become a bit of a bingo card item, hasn't it? Slot blames the low block.
The famous low block.
But the fans were so quick to point out, and the stats back them up 100%, that this wasn't a low block performance from Bournemouth. You don't get an XG of 2.30 and create 6 big chances by parking the bus.
Of course not.
Bournemouth were aggressive. They pressed high when they needed to. They attacked with intent and with numbers. They weren't just sitting back and hoping.
So the low block excuse is just that, an excuse. It's a deflection.
It's a deflection. It masks the fact that the team cannot defend transitions and is being outfought by so-called lesser opposition.
We touched on it earlier, but let's drill down a bit more into the fitness and intensity drop-off. You mentioned walking football.
This is the starkest contrast to the Klopp era for me. We were all used to heavy metal football, the frantic intensity, the suffocating pressing traps, the players running through brick walls for the manager.
Relentless.
This team looks polite. They look leggy. They look tired.
So is it a physical fitness issue or is it a motivation issue? What do you think?
That's the million-pound question, isn't it? If they are genuinely unfit halfway through a season, that's a massive indictment of the training methods.
It's a huge red flag.
But if they are unmotivated, if the desire isn't there, that's a managerial issue. That's on Arne Slot. And honestly, watching them jog back when they were 2-0 down suggests a mental disconnect.
The midfield was just bypassed so easily. Alexis McAllister, a World Cup winner, looked like he was wading through treacle.
He was a passenger for large parts of the game. Szoboszlai was the only one who seemed to be showing any spark. And even then, most of his good work was from dead ball situations.
It sounds like the entire engine room has just seized up. But it's not just the midfield, is it? We need to talk about the players individually. Section 3. The old guard crisis.
It feels less like a changing of the guard and more like a collapse of the guard.
Let's start at the top. The captain, Virgil van Dijk. He is in the crosshairs like never before.
It was a nightmare weekend for his reputation. It truly was. We've already discussed the catastrophic error for the first goal, the aura defending accusation.
What do you mean by aura defending?
It's the idea that he relies on his reputation and physical presence to intimidate attackers, rather than actually making a tackle or an interception. He sort of shepherds them, expecting them to make a mistake, but good players don't. And that's what happened for the first goal. He just expected the play to die.
But the post-match interview, oh my word.
It was remarkable, truly.
We have the notes here. He blamed the wind.
He blamed the wind for the first goal. He said the swirl at the Vitality Stadium made the flight of the ball difficult to judge.
You're Virgil van Dijk. You've played in World Cups, Champions League finals, probably every windy stadium in Europe. Surely you can handle a breeze on the South Coast.
It just came across as a desperate, weak excuse. There was no ownership.
And it didn't stop there, did it? Regarding the second goal, just after the Gomez injury, he suggested Bournemouth should have kicked the ball out of play.
Yes, because Liverpool apparently wanted to make a substitution. He was trying to deflect blame onto Bournemouth's sportsmanship, rather than admitting that his defense completely fell asleep while a player was down.
And then he complained about being blocked for the third goal.
Yes, the long throw. It was just a laundry list of excuses. There was no, I messed up, I need to be better, we as a defense need to be better. It was all external factors, the wind, the other team, the referee.
And the fan verdict on that interview.
Absolutely brutal. The words I saw were arrogant, zero accountability, delusional, and washed.
Washed is a strong word for a player of his caliber.
It is, but I've seen serious calls from large sections of the fan base saying it's time to cash in and move him onto the Saudi Pro League while he still has some market value. That represents a massive, massive shift in sentiment against a genuine club legend.
It really does. And he's not the only club legend under fire, Mohamed Salah. The narrative around him seems to be shifting from king to the decline.
It is. And the phrase being used, which is incredibly harsh, is that playing with Salah right now is like playing with 10 men when Liverpool don't have the ball.
That is harsh. But is there truth to it?
Well, look at the stats from the first 20 minutes of this game. 0 successful dribbles. He wasn't beating his man. He wasn't linking up play effectively. The accusation is that he's purely playing for himself now, chasing individual records or his next big contract, rather than doing the hard yards and the dirty work for the team system.
And then there's Cody Gakpo. There's a viral stat doing the rounds about him, isn't there?
Ah, yes, the Gakpo curse. The stat shows that Liverpool's win percentage plummets when Cody Gakpo starts. Now, correlation isn't always causation, of course.
But it feeds a narrative.
It feeds the narrative that fans can see with their own eyes. They feel he just kills the momentum. He gets the ball in the wing, he cuts inside, he slows the play right down, and it allows the defense to get back into their shape. He has become the poster boy for this slow, predictable slot ball style that everyone is starting to hate.
Okay, what about the new blood? The big money signings that were supposed to freshen things up? Florian Wirtz.
Very mixed reviews. Some fans are absolutely tearing into him. I saw some call him a pussy, their word, not mine, for refusing to shoot. He gets to the edge of the box, and he keeps looking for one more pass, trying to thread an impossible ball instead of just having a go.
But others are defending him.
Yes, the other side of the argument is that he's the only one trying to create anything, but there's absolutely no movement ahead of him. The strikers are static, so it's hard to be a playmaker when your forwards are standing still, waiting for the ball to arrive at their feet.
And Shugo Ekitike.
A rare bright spot. Most of the comments about him were asking why on earth he didn't start the game. He came on and actually looked dangerous. He wanted to drive into the box and make something happen. He's one of the very few players escaping the toxicity after that game.
And we have to circle back to the defense as a whole, the defensive shambles.
It's a personnel crisis, but as we said, it's a manufactured one. It's been years in the making.
There are rumors that Andy Robertson is off to Spurs in the summer.
That's the rumor. Trent Alexander-Arnold has already gone. Gomez, as we know, is made of glass. Konate is consistently injured. The options are just dwindling.
And this brings us right back to the recruitment failure.
Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, they are taking absolute heat online. And you have to say, rightly so. Someone pointed out a chilling stat. Liverpool have signed only 4 senior center backs in the last 10 years.
Before.
Joel Matip, Ragnar Klavan, Virgil van Dijk, and Ibrahima Konate. That is it.
That's negligent for a top club.
It's malpractice. You spend hundreds and hundreds of millions on attackers and creative midfielders, but you completely ignore the foundations of the team. And now you're paying the price playing a midfielder at center back in a must-win game. It's a failure of strategy from the very top.
Which leads us perfectly into the biggest question of all. Section 4, the managerial question. Is it time for Slot out?
The volume on that question is now deafening. It's not just a whisper on social media anymore.
Let's play the comparison game, because fans love a good comparison, and there are some very ugly names from Liverpool's past being thrown around.
The ugliest name of all for a Liverpool fan? Roy Hodgson.
Ouch. That's the nuclear option.
It is. Fans are looking at Slot's current run. I saw a stat that it's 21 points in the last 18 games, and they're pointing out that this is, for all intents and purposes, relegation form. It's comparable to the dark days of Hodgson and the bitter end of Brendan Rodgers' reign.
But the club and his defenders will say it's a transition year.
And the fans are rejecting that myth entirely. They are not having it. You do not inherit a title-winning squad, spend heavily in the summer on players the manager wanted, and then get to call it a transition when you drop to mid-table form.
It's not a transition.
It's a collapse. A regression.
And the identity crisis is so real. I watch this team play and I honestly don't know what they are supposed to be.
That's the core issue, isn't it? It's not a pressing team like Klopp's. It's certainly not a fast counterattacking team. It's a slow possession team that is incredibly fragile at the back. It has no teeth and a glass jaw.
And looming over all of this internal debate is the shadow of one man.
Xabi Alonso.
The demand is just overwhelming, isn't it?
It's desperate. Fans are clamoring for him. They see what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. They see the style of football, the passion on the touchline, the connection with the players and fans.
And then they look at Slot.
And then they look at Slot, standing emotionless, hands in pockets, on the touchline, as the team capitulates. And they want the change. Now,
I even saw some fans suggesting Steven Gerrard as an interim manager.
That just shows you the level of sheer panic. Get Stevie in just to get us to the summer. They just want someone, anyone, who understands the club and can bring back some fight, because right now they feel Slot has been completely found out.
The bald fraud narrative.
Cruel as it is, that narrative has well and truly arrived in the Premier League. The feeling is that his slow Eredivisie build-up play just doesn't work against the high intensity of this league.
So Section 5, let's look at the wider implications. Because this isn't just about losing a single game to Bournemouth. It's about the league table.
The top 4 anxiety is very, very real now. Liverpool are sliding. They're looking over their shoulder.
And Manchester United and Chelsea are catching up.
They are. They're finding form at the worst possible time for Liverpool. There is a very real fear now among the fan base that Liverpool could miss out on Champions League football entirely.
And the financial impact of that, after all the recent spending, would be
Catastrophic. It would set them back years. And when you look at the upcoming fixtures, it doesn't get any easier, does it?
who have they got next?
Newcastle and Manchester City are the next two league games.
Oh, dear. Blimey.
On current form, fans are dreading these games. They are genuinely expecting 0 points from the next two matches. They feel like lambs to the slaughter.
And the hate watch factor, as we call it.
Oh, it's in full swing. Rival fans are absolutely loving this. The downfall of a dominant team is always prime entertainment for everyone else. And Liverpool fans can feel that mockery from all sides.
There seems to be a massive disconnect now between the board and the fans.
A huge one. The fans feel the ownership, FSG, are too slow to act. They're reactive, not proactive. They fear the owners will dither, he'll keep Slot on for too long, hoping he turns it around.
And by the time they pull the trigger,
The season will be completely ruined. That apathy we talked about at the start, it comes from this feeling of powerlessness. Fans saying they don't even celebrate goals anymore because they just know the defense will crumble. That is the death of joy in football. It's a terrible place for a fan base to be.
So to wrap this up, this wasn't just a loss, let's be clear. This was a disaster.
It was a revelation of rot. A 3-2 loss to a depleted, out-of-form Bournemouth side that exposed deep, systemic issues in the tactical setup, the squad mentality, and the long-term recruitment strategy.
The unbeaten run completely masked these serious issues that have now been laid bare for everyone to see.
The defense is broken, the attack is toothless, and the captain is blaming the weather.
It's a perfect storm of mediocrity.
It really is.
So here's the provocative final thought for you listening at home, something to mull over. With Xabi Alonso looming large in the collective imagination of the fan base and a fixture list from hell just around the corner, have we just witnessed the final, fatal nail in the coffin for Arne Slot, or is there one last painful twist left in this season?
I would say brace yourselves for the Newcastle game. It's going to be a very, very long week on Merseyside.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you on the other side of that one.
Take care.